Hey guys, JayMasters here, and you know what? I've been looking for a real good and gritty dark fantasy slash anime. Do you have any idea where I could find one? Huh, neat. So, to give a small brief summary, we follow a Japanese salaryman who gets isekai'd into a world filled with big titty goth vampires and succubus mummies. No, but seriously, the story revolves around Momonga, or Momon, who was born around 100 or 2 years into the future. The future is so grim and basically all of the plant life and most of the animals have died. Humans live in capsule-like houses and such, kinda like in the world of Ready Player One. So the only way to escape from such horror is obviously DMMORPGs or dive massive multiplayer online games. And the most popular and one of the first good ones was called Yggdrasil, a game revolving around player guilds and class levels.
The first episode starts off with Momonga meeting up with few of the last players of his mighty guild of Ainz Ol Gown, which used to be one of the biggest guilds back in the day. In the light novel it was stated that he met at least 2 other members more than what we saw in the anime. In the anime we only see him speaking with Herohero, a purple colored slime monster, whose actual race was called the Ancient Black Slime. The guild Ainz Ol Gown was consistent of monster and grotesque races. So undead, lizard men, slime monsters, bug creatures, the like. Momonga curses his fate after his friend Herohero logs off, because today is the last day that the game is online, and he wanted to at least meet all of the members, but he only met in the anime the one, at least mentioned. But he starts heading towards the throne room, and as he sits upon the majestic throne of Ainz Ol Gown, just counting down the clock to 12 AM. That's when the servers are supposed to shut off. But as the clock hits 12, Ainz realizes he's still there. He wonders why. And after a few more moments, his player screen disappears, his UI. After a small bit of confusion and fumbling around, he realizes that the head of the floor guardians, who also guards the throne room, the NPC Albedo, the succubus, has come alive. He realizes this by the fact that he can feel her skin, her body warmth, and he can smell her. He also did something that we're not gonna be put here, but he wanted to test if this was truly a game or real life. But after the scene with Albedo, the maids and the head butler, Sebastian, or also known as Sebas, rush and he realizes, oh, all of the NPCs must be alive. He also announces that he would like to meet all of the floor guardians on the floor 6, the Colosseum, also known as the Jungle. It is guarded by the guardians Aura Bellafiore and Mare Bellafiore, the twin dark the twin dark elves. All of the guardians gather there to meet Ainz, the now last supreme being, as the players who once were members of the guild are referred to as the NPCs. After a few moments of deliberation, Ainz sends Sebas to the surface to figure out their surroundings, and that's when he gets the information that they have indeed been at least transported somewhere else. The once huge swamps that surrounded the guild house, the Tomb of Nazareth, have now been turned into plains. In the first few episodes, we also see Ainz scouting out with his magical crystal ball, and he sees the Holy Kingdom, the Theocracy, I believe, Empire, attacking a nearby village. The village's name is Karne. This is where Ainz goes after he sees two girls being hunted by a knight and the other dying. He decides to help them out for hell's sake. And he also gathers some information there.
The first season proceeds to go further, and now calling himself Ainz, Momonga decides to become an adventurer called Momo, a reference to his real name Momonga, to gather some information at the nearby city of Irandel. He meets an adventuring group called the Swords of Darkness, Peter the leader, Nina, Lukrut the charmer, and lastly Dine Woodwander, the druid and presumably the healer of the group. With this group he adventures with them for a bit. Their first task and quest is to escort Nyfiria to collect some herbs near the Karne village. In the nearby forest, they meet the wise forest guardian, who turns out to be a giant hamster with a snake-like tail. Ainz beats her, yes, that's a she, with Aura of Despair level 1, which is weakest form of his racial ability. And Fury and the others get back to Erandel without Momon, where Clementine has come to collect Enfiria, because he has a special ability. He can use any magical item without any prerequisite requirements or components. So, presumably, I believe how it works that even if you would be a level 1, you could use like a level 10 magical item that you would normally be able to use. Clementine sadly kills the others, which sets up Ainz to have of a small-time vengeance. Ainz and Nabe go to Irantel's graveyard, where a warlock has, with the Orb of Death, decided to bring about an army of the undead to kill the whole city of Irantel, making a second undead city. There is no mention of what's the first undead city. Ainz and Nabe first play with the little humans. After some time, Ainz decides that it's enough. And he yells out to Naberu, I give you the permission to use your real power, which is one of the battle players of Nazarick. And also use her real name, Narberul Gamma. And now, Narbero decides to use a higher 7th tier level magic, which is above what humans can use in this world. Twin Maximized Lightning. She uses the spell take down the strongest undead creatures a human can make, even with the Orb of Death. Skeletal dragons, in one blast. Ainz proceeds to do the Dance of Death with the poor little Clementine. This is a really brutal scene. And the Dance of Death ends with Ainz crushing her spine, with a chilling bone-crushing embrace. Oh, that's horrible. A lot of things that have happened in such a short while. From Ainz coming to the world, and him just proceeding to become an adventurer, and just the last episode. Some crazy shit is going down. I love the gruesome dark fantasy aspects. I think it's a really enjoyable show. But anyway, that's cool. Let's continue to the last part of the first season.
The finale of season 1 deals with Shaltir, an ancient true vampire looking for someone who can use martial arts for Lord Ainz. She does find one, but she gets distracted by a raiding party, where there's a woman with a world level item, the strongest level of items in the world. That's what they're called, world level items. But before it fully activates, Shaltir manages to kill her and destroys the item with her giant lance. Afterwards it shows Shaltir is under mind control and defected from the guild. Ainz decides to deal with this personally and decides to fight against Shaltir. He plans the fight brilliantly, setting up abilities and spells. The fight is a bit too long to describe, but the fight ends in Ainz's victory, where in the end he uses an ultimate tier spell. The goal of all life is death, turning Shaltir literally into dust. The season ends where Ainz sacrifices a lot of gold to revive Shaltir, and Ainz also promises to himself to be more careful from now on, since there can be other hostilities that might endanger his precious guild and the children of his fellow guildmates.